Imagine waking up one morning, feeling lost, heavy, as if something deep inside is missing. You go through your routine, meet people, eat food, scroll through your phone. Yet there's a quiet discomfort that follows you. You can't see it, but it's there. Imagine living each day like that, carrying a burden you don't understand. What if that burden isn't the world, but the way your mind is reacting to it? Have you ever paused and asked yourself, why do small things bother me so much? Why do I feel restless even when nothing is wrong? Why does peace feel so far away, like a dream I can't hold on to? These questions are not just yours. Millions feel this, but very few stop and look deep enough to see the answer. Let me give you an example. A man is sitting beside a calm lake. The water is still. Then he picks up a stone and throws it in. The ripples spread, disturbing the calm surface. Now, imagine that stone is a single thought of anger or fear. That one thought can disturb the peace within you for the entire day. But here's the truth. You are the one holding the stone all along. Welcome to Wisdom Writings, where we dive deep into the timeless teachings of the Buddha and uncover truths that can change your everyday life. If you're tired of confusion and want to live with clarity, then you're in the right place. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support means a lot. And please, drop down your thoughts in the comments. Your experience can help others too. To stay positive till the very end of this video, comment Namo Buddhoi right now. Let that simple act become a reminder that today, you are choosing awareness over ignorance. In this video, you'll discover the one Buddhist lesson that most people forget. It's the lesson that has the power to remove silent suffering from daily life. It's not something hidden. It's something we've all seen, but keep ignoring. This forgotten truth, when remembered, brings back light where there's been confusion. It's time to see clearly again. The mind is like a magician. It creates what isn't there. It hides what truly is. Most people walk through life not seeing the world as it is, but as their mind paints it. A face is seen, and the mind says friend or enemy. A word is heard, and the mind says insult or praise. But who decides? The moment something arises, the mind quickly labels it. And once labeled, we live not with the thing itself, but with the label. This is how illusion begins. The Buddha often said that the world we suffer in is not the real world, but the world shaped by our thoughts. When we suffer, we are not suffering the event. We are suffering the thoughts that follow it. You lose a job, and your mind says, I'm a failure. A person ignores you, and your mind says, they hate me. But the truth? Maybe none of that is real. Maybe it's just the mind playing its old tricks. Imagine holding a rope in the dark and thinking it's a snake. Your heart races. You jump back. You panic. But when the light is turned on, you laugh. It was just a rope. In the same way, we suffer because of the illusions created by our untrained minds. Our thoughts are like shadows in the night. They can't be trusted unless we bring the light of awareness. The Buddha didn't teach people to believe him. He taught them to see. He taught them to question every thought and look deeply. Because a mind that is not watched becomes the greatest deceiver. It can tell you you're not good enough, that others are better, that happiness lies somewhere far away. But have you noticed? The mind never stops talking. And yet, the truth always lives in silence, not in the noise. Thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky. But most people chase them, believe them, and even fight with them. When the sky is filled with clouds, you may forget the sun. But the sun is never gone. It's only hidden. In the same way, our true peace is never lost. It is only hidden by thoughts, fears, and ideas we have picked up. One of the oldest Buddhist lessons is this. Don't believe everything you think. Simple, yet powerful. Because the moment you stop trusting every thought, you begin to see beyond illusion. You begin to experience things as they really are, not as your mind colors them. You feel the warmth of the present moment, not the cold echo of the past or the distant fear of the future. Why does the mind lie? Not because it is evil, but because it is conditioned. From childhood, we are taught names, beliefs, labels. We're told who we are, what we should be, and what success looks like. These messages pile up. They become automatic. We don't even question them. And so the mind becomes a reflection of society, not of truth. Let me tell you a story. A man came to the Buddha, angry because someone insulted him. He asked, "Why do people say such hurtful things?" The Buddha said, "If someone gives you a gift and you refuse to accept it, to whom does it belong?" The man replied, "To the one who offered it." The Buddha smiled and said, "Then do the same with anger. If you do not accept it, it remains with them." Now think, how often do we accept gifts we never asked for? Someone's harsh words, society's expectations, even our own harsh thoughts. But the teaching is clear. You can step back. You can refuse to receive what isn't helpful. This is freedom from illusion. The illusion becomes stronger when we argue with reality. Something unpleasant happens, and the mind says, "This should not have happened." But suffering is born not from the event, but from the thought that says, "This shouldn't be." When you accept the present moment as it is, not weakly, but wisely, the illusion fades. Peace returns. Every day, the mind writes stories. Some are sad, some are scary, some are filled with dreams. But they're all just stories. You can watch them like watching a river flow. You don't have to jump in. You don't have to drown in them. Meditation is the art of sitting by the river, not swimming in it. This is what mindfulness teaches. Not to fight the mind, but to witness it. Not to suppress thought, but to see its nature. And as you do, something beautiful happens. You begin to rest in awareness itself, vast, open, and clear. You become the sky, not the clouds. When the mind is quiet, truth speaks. Not in words, but in presence. You feel connected. You feel whole. You don't need to chase anything. You don't need to prove anything. In that silence, the illusion of the false self fades. What remains is peaceful, strong, and awake. The Buddha didn't promise that life would never have pain. He promised that we could end suffering. Pain may be part of life, but suffering is optional. And suffering arises when we resist what is, when we believe false thoughts, when we get lost in the stories the mind tells. So the next time your mind shouts a fear, a judgment, or a worry, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, is this true? And even if it feels true, ask, does it help me? Slowly, gently, you begin to loosen the grip of illusion. You start to see with fresh eyes. This is the essence of the Buddhist path. Not to escape life, but to see it clearly. To see beyond illusion is to see the sacred in the ordinary, the peace in the chaos, the stillness in the movement. The Buddha's eyes were not different from ours. What made him awake was his clarity, his freedom from mental tricks. Most people think enlightenment is far away, a final goal. But the truth is, it's here. It's now. Every moment you see through illusion, every time you choose awareness over reaction, you take one step closer. You don't need more information. You need more presence. And presence begins by not believing the mind's drama. It begins by becoming still, watching carefully, and smiling at the mind's show. Because once you see it as a show, it loses its power over you. You become the watcher, the witness, the one who sees, not the one who suffers. This lesson is not just to be understood. It is to be lived. Every day, watch the thoughts. Question them. Don't take them too seriously. Life is not as the mind says it is. It is simpler, kinder, and more beautiful than we imagine. So remember this Buddhist lesson. The mind can trick you, but you can wake up. Illusion fades when awareness shines. The truth is not complicated. It is always here, waiting quietly to be seen. The Buddha did not always speak. In fact, some of his greatest teachings came in complete silence. When his disciples sat around him, they often expected words, but what they received instead was presence, clear, undisturbed presence. He once held up a flower, just a flower. No words. Only one monk smiled. That moment was transmission. That was understanding. It wasn't in the flower. It wasn't in the smile. It was in the silence between them. Stillness is a teacher greater than any voice. In silence, the mind begins to quiet down, and only then does one hear the truth whispering inside. But people today are frightened of silence. They fill every corner with sound, chatter, music, news, notifications, opinions. As if noise proves they are alive. As if distraction is comfort. But this is not life. This is forgetting. The Buddha did not forget. He remembered deeply. In the forest under the Bodhi tree, he sat still, not to escape the world, but to see it clearly. His eyes open, his breath soft, his awareness vast. That was his path. That was his awakening. Silence is not emptiness. It is full of seeing. In stillness, thoughts rise and pass like clouds. Feelings surface like waves. But the one who watches remains unmoved. That watcher is who you are beneath all stories. The Buddha never said you must abandon the world. He only said, observe it. Watch the rising and falling. Watch desire grow and fade. Watch anger come and go. In silence, you begin to notice everything changing. And then something even deeper happens. You stop chasing. You stop clinging. You start understanding. One monk asked the Buddha, what do you gain from meditation? The Buddha replied, nothing. But let me tell you what I've lost. Anger, anxiety, depression, insecurity, fear of old age and death. This is the wisdom of stillness. People think enlightenment is a reward. It is not. It is the falling away of all you are not. And what remains is simple awareness, just being here and now. When the Buddha sat in stillness, he saw his cravings clearly. Craving for pleasure, craving for identity, craving for permanence. These cravings were the roots of suffering. And he let them go, one by one, not through force, but through seeing. This seeing is deep. You cannot fake it. You cannot rush it. You must be willing to sit with yourself. Not as you wish to be, but as you truly are. Stillness is honest. It reveals your masks. It shows you your attachments. And that can be frightening. But it also shows you that you are not your fear. You are the one who sees the fear. There's great freedom in this. Sometimes the Buddha said nothing when asked the question. People thought he was being mysterious. But silence was the most direct answer. It pointed beyond the mind, beyond words, to a truth that must be experienced, not explained. The modern world believes fast is better, loud is power, constant is necessary. But the path of the Buddha moves in the opposite direction. Quiet, slow, present. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, be like a rock, unmoved by wind or rain. Be like a lake, clear and calm, reflecting all, disturbed by none. This is the lesson of stillness. Stillness is not about sitting with closed eyes. It is about how you walk, how you speak, how you respond. It is a posture of awareness in every action. When the Buddha walked, he placed each foot with mindfulness. When he ate, he tasted every bite as if it were his last. Not out of fear, but gratitude, full presence. No ruse. This is not a performance. It is a return. Return to what? Return to yourself before the stories, before the noise, before the masks. In deep stillness, there is no success or failure. There is no past or future. There is just the breath. Just this moment. That is where freedom lives. A disciple once asked the Buddha, Master, what is the secret to peace? The Buddha smiled gently and replied, stop measuring. Stop comparing. Be still and see. See what? See that nothing lasts. See that all things change. See that your suffering is not in the world, but in your resistance to it. When you stop fighting what is, you begin to understand. The world no longer controls you. Your mind no longer masters you. You become soft like water and strong like the mountain. Stillness teaches you this without a single word. Some of the Buddha's disciples left him. They wanted miracles. They wanted promises. But the Buddha offered them only truth, silent, direct, unwavering. The miracle was in sitting, in watching, in waking up to each moment. And those who stayed, those who practiced the way of stillness, they found peace not by changing the world, but by changing how they saw it. They still faced storms. But now, they were no longer the storm. They were the sky. This is the silent teaching, the great reminder, not in scriptures or sermons, but in the stillness within you that never left. You do not need more. You need less. Less noise, less seeking, less pretending. Let silence lead you. The Buddha saw everything, not through effort, but through stillness. through silence, through presence, and he invites you to do the same. Sit, breathe, watch, be. That is the lesson. Have you ever sat quietly and noticed how quickly your mind clings to things? A word, a glance, a memory. Suddenly, it becomes your world. What you don't realize is that these attachments aren't random. They are reflections, mirrors. They show what you deeply crave or deeply fear. This is where most suffering begins, when the mind mistakes these reflections for reality. The Buddha didn't teach in complicated language. He pointed gently, with silence often louder than words. He said, look at your craving, not with judgment, but with curiosity. The suffering isn't just in what you're attached to, but in how deeply you believe it defines you. That mirror you hold up to the world, it's fogged by your desires. A man once asked the Buddha, why do I suffer so much when people insult me? The Buddha replied, when someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The man was silent. The Buddha continued, in the same way, when others speak with anger, hatred, or falsehood, if you do not accept it, their words remain with them. But how do you not accept it? That's where the mirror matters. You have to look deeply at what's being reflected. When you become angry because someone called you unworthy, what are you truly reacting to? Is it the insult, or is it the fear that maybe they're right? Do you see how your reaction is not to the world, but to the image of yourself you've built inside? That image is fragile. That image is where attachment lives. Buddhism teaches that clinging to self-image, status, possessions, or even opinions binds you. You defend them like treasures, unaware that you're guarding chains. Imagine standing in front of a mirror, holding a heavy bag in each hand. One bag is filled with praise you've received, the other with criticism. Can you truly see your reflection clearly? Or is it distorted by the weight you carry? This is why the Buddha taught us to drop both bags. Let go of praise. Let go of blame. Only then can you see who you are beyond the noise. But letting go isn't about rejection. It's not pushing life away. It's about seeing clearly. It's realizing that nothing outside you can truly touch the truth of what you are. The mirror within must be wiped clean by understanding. People often mistake detachment for indifference. But true detachment is not coldness. It is clarity. When you see something as temporary, you stop clinging. When you see someone's affection as a moment, you stop fearing its loss. You begin to love more purely, without conditions, because you no longer love from need. A young monk once cried in the monastery. His teacher found him and asked why. I miss my family, he said. I feel guilty for being here. The teacher sat beside him and said nothing for a long time. Then he whispered, it's all right to miss them. But ask yourself, who is the one that misses? Is it the heart or the attachment to identity? The monk didn't understand then. But over time, he saw. Missing someone wasn't suffering. It was clinging to what their presence meant about him that hurt. Everything you're attached to is part of a story about who you think you are. But the problem with stories is they change. The character grows old. The loved one leaves. The job is lost. The body aches. If your happiness depends on the story staying the same, you'll always live in fear the next chapter. But when you stop clinging to the plot, you discover the silence underneath, the peace that doesn't need a story. A mirror only works when it is still. Your mind, too, can only reflect truth when it is not disturbed. This is why meditation is not about escaping life. It's about seeing it without distortion. To sit quietly and observe your thoughts, your emotions, your cravings without feeding them. That is the beginning of real vision. There is a story about a king who looked into a sacred mirror and saw not himself, but every person he had wronged. It broke his heart, but it also freed him. He finally saw his actions not through power, but through compassion. The mirror didn't judge him. It revealed him. That's what the mirror within does when you stop hiding from it. Many people believe that if they let go of attachments, life will become dull. But the opposite is true. When you no longer chase pleasure or flee discomfort, you experience life directly. A flower is just a flower, but it holds infinite beauty. A meal is just a meal, but it nourishes deeply. Without attachments clouding your vision, The ordinary becomes extraordinary. The Buddha once said, "You only lose what you cling to." Think about that. Pain, fear, anger, these arise not from what happens, but from your refusal to let it pass. Your need to control, to possess, to define, that's the root. And once you see that clearly, you begin to soften. You begin to live. When you observe yourself honestly, you notice patterns. How you seek approval, how you resist uncertainty, how you chase comfort. Each of these is a thread in the web of attachment. One by one, when seen clearly, the threads can be untangled. Not by force, but by understanding. There's a peace that comes when you no longer need to prove yourself. When you don't need to win every argument. When you don't have to be right all the time. This peace isn't from pride. It's from release. You realize your worth isn't in being above others. It's in being no one at all. To walk the Buddhist path is not to renounce the world, but to renounce illusion. It is to live among people, to love them, but not be trapped by need. It is to own things, but not be owned by them. It is to feel emotions, but not be drowned by them. This is balance. A person once asked a monk, "If I stop wanting things, won't I lose all motivation?" The monk smiled gently and said, "Do the trees strive to be tall? Do the rivers force themselves to flow? No. And yet, everything fulfills its nature perfectly. So can you. Freedom is not in having more. Freedom is in needing less. The mirror shows you what you're chasing. It shows you what you fear losing. But once you stop identifying with the reflection, you meet something deeper. Stillness. Presence. Being. Let this teaching settle in your heart. Don't rush to understand it with the mind. Just notice your next reaction. The next time someone praises or criticizes you. The next time you crave or resist. Ask yourself, what am I clinging to? And slowly, with practice, you will see. You will begin to wipe the mirror clean. When the mirror is clean, what remains is not the old self, not the wounded image, but awareness itself. Buddha. Unattached. Free. This is the lesson. Always remember it. Let him now listen with a quiet mind and an open heart. Because what comes next is not for mere understanding. It is for transformation. He had always believed that holding on was a form of strength. He held on to people, to ideas, to pride, to sorrow. The more he clung, the more he felt secure. But something strange happened. The tighter his grip, the more life slipped through his fingers. And slowly, suffering entered like a cold wind through an open window. The Buddha once said that attachment is the root of all suffering. But what did that really mean? It meant that the moment a person declares, "This must stay," or "This must be mine," he places himself in conflict with a world that is always changing. Nothing lasts. Not joy, not pain. Not even the self he thinks he is. So, the more he tries to control what is fleeting, the more pain he invites. He suffers because he wants the pleasant to last forever and the unpleasant to go away instantly. But reality doesn't work that way. Seasons change, bodies age, people leave, and moments pass. That is the nature of existence. In one village, a monk once carried a beautiful ceramic bowl, gifted by a kind-hearted merchant. Every day, he admired its shape and the way sunlight danced upon it. One day it slipped and shattered. A younger monk expected him to be upset, but the elder simply smiled and said, "I knew it was already broken." That is the wisdom of letting go. Letting go does not mean not caring. It means caring wisely. It means recognizing the impermanence of all things and choosing peace over possession. When a person lets go of the demand for permanence, he opens himself to the wonder of each moment as it is. There's no need to cling to anger, either. Anger is a flame that burns the one who holds it. And yet people nurture it, justify it, defend it. But why? The insult is already past. The betrayal is already done. Clinging to it is like drinking poison and waiting for the other to suffer. And what about guilt? How many carry it like a stone in their heart, believing that suffering is atonement? But even the Buddha said, once you see clearly, you can begin anew. Guilt clings to the past, but life only flows forward. He who lets go is not weak. He is wise. He understands that resistance is suffering. He does not swim against the river. He flows with it. And in that flow, there's freedom. In Buddhist practice, letting go is not a one-time act. It is a way of being. Every breath is a reminder. You breathe in, and then you must release. If you try to hold your breath, it becomes pain. The breath itself teaches you how to live. There's a kind of joy that arises when the grip is loosened, a lightness, a spaciousness. He begins to see that he never owned anything, not even his name, his body, his story. And yet, in that realization, he finds not despair, but peace. Sometimes, people fear letting go because they think they will lose themselves. But the self they are afraid to lose is already an illusion. It is a bundle of thoughts, preferences, fears, and memories. When that bundle softens, a deeper self, calm, silent, free, begins to emerge. In the teachings, there's a beautiful word, upekkha. It means equanimity, the ability to be steady whether praise comes or blame, gain or loss, joy or sorrow. This balance comes from letting go of the idea that life must always go as you wish. A man once came to the Buddha in grief. He had lost his only son. The Buddha did not offer empty comfort. He asked the man to bring him a mustard seed from a house that had never known death. The man searched, but every house had known loss. And so he returned, not with the seed, but with understanding. Letting go begins with seeing that life does not obey our desires, that people cannot be controlled, that time cannot be captured, that even this body, so familiar, will one day return to the earth. And yet there is no need to fear. In that letting go, he begins to touch something beyond loss. It is not about apathy. It is about deep love without clinging. To love someone deeply, knowing they are not yours to possess. To enjoy a moment completely, knowing it will pass. That is the art of living. The great river of life flows whether we fight it or not. But when he lets go, he no longer drowns. He learns to float. He learns to trust. And trust is another name for surrender. The Buddha did not ask us to give up happiness. He asked us to give up illusion. Because true happiness, the kind that cannot be taken away, is only found when the illusions are dropped. He starts to understand that letting go is not a loss. It is the only way to be free. Free from the chains of expectation. Free from the prison of control. Free from the burden of me and mine. And slowly, something changes. The heart, once heavy, begins to lighten. The hands, once clenched, begin to open. And in that opening, he finds life as it really is, raw, fleeting, beautiful beyond words. So now when he walks lightly. When he loves freely. And when he loses, he bows to what is past. Because he knows nothing was ever truly his. And in that knowing, he finally begins to live. He sat still, the old monk, cross-legged beneath the Bodhi tree, listening not to the wind, but to his own heartbeat. Around him, birds chirped, children played, leaves rustled, and yet he reacted to none of it. Not because he could not hear, but because he had learned to choose awareness over reaction. In the world beyond the monastery, people were reacting all the time. Someone shouts, and the other shouts louder. Someone insults, and revenge simmers. A mistake happens, and frustration bubbles. No one stops. No one watches. But this man, this student of the Buddhist teachings, had chosen differently. He had once been like them. He too used to speak without thinking, to move without seeing, to decide without pausing. Life, for him, had once been a storm of reactions. But one lesson from the Buddha shifted everything. The Buddha had said, just as a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, so the wise are not moved by praise or blame. These words echoed within the monk's soul like a bell that never stops ringing. It was not just about staying calm, it was about being awake. And to be awake means to see before you speak, to observe before you respond. Every reaction, the monk had come to understand, was simply the mind defending an illusion. The illusion of ego, the illusion of control, the illusion that everything must go his way. He learned to pause, to breathe, to notice the moment just before anger arises. That tiny space, barely a blink, was the doorway to wisdom. Most people miss it, but he made it his home. One day, a villager insulted him publicly, called him names, accused him falsely. The crowd waited for his fury, but the monk smiled softly and said, "Thank you for your opinion. May peace find you." And then he walked away, not with pride, but with understanding. Later, when a disciple asked how he stayed so calm, the monk replied, "Why should I drink poison just because someone else offered it to me? Reactions are like poison," he would say. They enter through the mouth, or the hand, or the heart, and they settle deep in the soul. But awareness is the antidote. Awareness does not mean you suppress your feelings. It means you observe them without becoming them. He knew now that emotions are clouds. Anger, sadness, joy, jealousy, they come and they go. The sky does not fight the cloud. It simply allows. He learned to become the sky. In the midst of chaos, he found peace by practicing one simple thing: watching. Watching his thoughts, watching his breath, watching his tendencies. And slowly, those reactions began to dissolve like salt in still water. He remembered how the Buddha had once sat through storms, temptations, distractions, and never flinched. The world was screaming, but he was listening only to silence. That was not weakness. That was supreme strength. The monk began to teach others this art, not by preaching, but by being an example. When someone failed him, he forgave. When someone disappointed him, he accepted. When someone attacked him, he offered kindness. Not because he wanted to be good, but because he had seen the trap. Every reaction is a chain, and every chain keeps the soul from flying. He often said, "You are not your anger. You are not your reaction. You are the one who sees it all." And in that seeing, there was peace. He taught that the greatest power is not control over others, but control over yourself. And control does not mean force. It means clarity. It means presence. It means being here now. And when he walked slowly, not because he was old, but because he had nothing to chase. He didn't run from discomfort, and he didn't cling to pleasure. He simply walked with awareness. Even when he ate like it was his last meal, fully present, fully grateful, fully alive. There was no haste, no distraction, no mind elsewhere. The people around him began to change too, not because he changed them, but because they saw how peaceful one can become just by choosing not to react. His favorite lesson to share was simple. Whenever you feel the fire rise, pause. Look at it, bow to it, and let it pass. Do not touch the fire with your hands. He believed the world didn't need more opinions. It needed more presence, more stillness, more people who can sit with pain and not scream, who can hold discomfort and not escape, who can witness chaos and still choose love. So he continued day after day, moment after moment, watching, breathing, learning. And in doing so, he reminded all who met him, you don't have to react. You can choose awareness. And that choice, right there, is the beginning of freedom. The freedom that is not found in changing the world, but in changing how we meet the world. And that is the wisdom the Buddha left behind. A wisdom not carved in stone, but written in breath, in silence, in stillness. And when you remember this, not once, but daily, you begin to live from a deeper place. A place beyond hurt, beyond habit, beyond noise. The monk never claimed to be special. He only said, "I just started noticing what others ignore." That was enough. And now, it's your turn to see it too. Many people go through life without ever questioning who they really are. They wear their names like masks. They carry their jobs, their roles, and their stories as if these were the essence of who they are. But if you ask them, who are you without all of this? They often fall silent. That silence is not confusion. It is the beginning of awakening. The Buddha taught that what we call the self is not a fixed thing, is not something solid or permanent. It is more like a river, always flowing, always changing. Yet we cling to it as if it were a rock. We build our entire lives around this idea. This is me. This is mine. This is who I am. And that clinging is the root of our suffering. Ego is not some evil force inside us. It's just a misunderstanding. It's like mistaking a shadow for a person. We believe the voice in our head is who we are. We believe the emotions that rise and fall within us define us. We believe that if something threatens our identity, it threatens our entire existence. But in reality, the ego is just a construction, a mental habit born of fear and desire. The moment you drop the need to be someone, you begin to taste true freedom. It is like stepping out of a prison you didn't even know you were in. Suddenly you can breathe, you can see, you can hear the sound of the wind without labeling it. You can watch your own thoughts like clouds drifting in the sky. You're no longer trapped in the story. The ego constantly compares. It says, I am better or I am worse. It wants to win. It wants to be seen. It wants to be praised. And when it is not, it becomes angry or sad. It is always trying to protect itself. But what is it really protecting? A name? A reputation? A fleeting thought? The Buddha smiled because he saw how empty it all was. When you understand that there is no fixed self, life becomes softer. The insults don't sting as much. The praise doesn't intoxicate you. You become like the bamboo that bends in the wind but never breaks. You're no longer fighting to prove something. You are simply living, breathing, being moment to moment. To live beyond ego does not mean to erase your personality. It does not mean you become dull or empty. It means you no longer cling to identity as truth. You can play your role in the world, but you know it's just a role. Like an actor in a play, you give it your all, but you do not mistake yourself for the character. This is the art of spiritual maturity. There is great peace in anonymity. When you do not need to be someone, you are free to be anyone. You can listen deeply because you are not waiting to speak. You can love without demand because you are not trying to possess. You can serve without pride because you are not trying to shine. You become light like a feather, moving wherever the wind takes you. Most suffering comes from protecting the ego. We feel hurt because someone didn't recognize us. We feel fear because someone might expose us. We feel rage because someone disrespected us. But all of this is based on the idea that there is a self to protect. The wise ones laugh because they know there is nothing to defend. When you meditate, you begin to observe your thoughts and emotions. Slowly, you see that they come and go on their own. If they were truly you, how could they change so easily? How could today's anger be tomorrow's calm? How could yesterday's joy become today's sorrow? You begin to see through the illusion. Even your body is not truly you. It grows, changes, decays. You don't control the beating of your heart, the working of your liver, the flow of blood in your veins. These things happen by themselves. The sense of ownership is just a belief. The Buddha called this belief atta, the illusion of a permanent self. But he did not stop at philosophy. He gave a method. Look within. Seek silence. Watch the breath. Watch the rising and falling of sensations. Watch how the mind clings. And as you watch without judgment, something begins to shift. The false layers peel away. What remains is not a person, it is presence. Presence has no name, no face, no past. It is silent, alert, awake. It is not caught in ambition or memory. It is not moved by praise or blame. It is what remains when the ego is quiet. And it is always there, waiting beneath the noise. When a person lives from this presence, they become simple. Not stupid, simple. There is no complexity in their actions. They do what is needed. They speak what is true. They give without keeping score. They rest without guilt. They laugh easily and cry without shame. They are whole. This does not mean they have no emotions. It means they are not controlled by them. Anger may come, but does not stay. Fear may pass through, but it does not take root. Love may arise, but it is not attached. Like a mountain in the storm, they remain unmoved. In the teachings of Zen, there's a phrase, chop wood, carry water. It means enlightenment is not something special. It is not an escape from the world. It is living fully in each moment. Doing what needs to be done, without ego, without clinging. This is the real freedom. The ego says, I must find my purpose. But the awakened one just lives. Each breath is enough. Each step is complete. The flower blooms not to prove itself. The bird sings not to impress. They simply express what they are. And so must we. The idea that I must become something is a trap. You're already what you seek. You only need to let go of what you're not. Let go of the masks, the expectations, the judgments. What remains is real. What remains is peace. When the self is no longer the center, the world opens up. You begin to see others not as threats or tools, but as reflections of the same being. Compassion flows naturally, not because it's moral, but because it's true. To love another is to love yourself because the boundary was never real. This lesson may sound simple, but must be remembered again and again, because the ego returns again and again. But each time you see through it, the light becomes stronger. And one day, you may laugh like the Buddha did, free from all illusion, dwelling in the vastness of now. Imagine waking up tomorrow, not as a person chasing peace, but as one living in it. Not seeking answers, but being the answer. Not running after something outside you, but walking gently with the truth that has always been within you. Imagine a world where you move with grace, speak only what uplifts, and live so mindfully that even a falling leaf becomes a lesson. Imagine you are not disturbed by noise, not shaken by opinions, not confused by chaos. Imagine that every breath is a teacher, every moment is a chance, and every mistake is just a mirror gently showing you the way. You've walked through 7 doors with me in this series. You've seen how the mind plays tricks, how desire entangles, how illusion blinds, and how ego builds a cage. But now here, at the end of the road, we don't talk of ideas. We speak of living, truly living. There's a story about a monk who carried a heavy bag everywhere he went. People often asked him, "Why don't you put it down?" The monk smiled and said, "When I drop it, I forget that it was ever heavy." Life is the same. When you carry your thoughts, desires, and identity, it feels unbearable. But when you drop them, even for a moment, peace enters silently. Welcome, dear listener, to Wisdom Writings. If this journey has touched your heart, like this video, share it with someone who needs a gentle nudge towards peace. Comment below with your thoughts, and if the teachings have helped you, subscribe for more timeless wisdom. Now, we begin the final lesson. And this one is not for the ears. It's for your life. Always remember this. The truth is not somewhere you arrive at. It is how you walk. It is not what you believe. It is how you live. The Buddha never asked you to believe him. He asked you to see for yourself. Breathe gently. Just observe your breath. No need to change it. No need to judge it. Simply watch. This is the beginning of living the truth, to stop trying to control, and instead to simply witness. The moment you do this, you're no longer lost in the noise. You are home. Every teaching we've shared in this journey points back to awareness. But awareness is not an idea. It is presence. It is the act of being with what is, without naming it, without rushing to fix it. If you're sad, be with it. If you're angry, watch it. If you're joyful, enjoy it. Don't grab. Don't push. Just be. We forget the lesson when we think the lesson is in the words. The real lesson is in the silence between the words. It's in your stillness. It's in that deep knowing within you that doesn't speak, but always understands. When someone insults you, what rises? If it is anger, be with it. Do not fight it. Do not justify it. Just watch it arise. Then watch it pass. This watching is freedom, because in the watching, the you that reacts disappears, and what remains is just peace. Life will test you. You'll forget this teaching 1,000 times. And that's okay. What matters is, do you remember to return? Each time you come back to awareness, you're reborn. Each moment of mindfulness is a new beginning. Let others chase success. Let them argue. Let them run. You just walk. Gently. Know that nothing you hold will last. Know that even your name is borrowed. Know that every moment is a gift, and every loss is a teaching in disguise. There's nothing more to do. You don't need to add anything to your life. You need to drop what's not real. Drop the need to be right. Drop the urge to prove. Drop the fear of being misunderstood. Just be. In that being, you'll discover a joy that cannot be taken, a wisdom that doesn't need to be shown. Don't try to be spiritual. Be sincere. Don't act enlightened. Be empty. The most awakened people are not loud. They're invisible in the crowd, but their silence changes the world. Let the rain fall. Let the wind blow. Let the world turn. You, remain still. Remain kind. Remain awake. When you forget, smile and return. This is the secret. Return, return, return. When you sit in silence, even for 5 minutes a day, you're watering the seed of truth. When you choose compassion over anger, patience over pride, you're walking the path. When you see yourself in others, when you forgive, when you listen, that is the lesson being lived. You will not be perfect. You will stumble. But in Buddhism, perfection was never the goal. Liberation is not about becoming flawless. It's about seeing clearly. And in seeing clearly, your chains fall on their own. So walk humbly. Speak truthfully. Love deeply. And always remember this lesson. Nothing outside you can give you peace. It begins and ends within. Thank you for walking this path with me. The teachings are not mine. They are yours if you live them. Now go, not to learn more, but to forget what is not true. And in that forgetting, may you discover what was always there, a still heart, a free mind, and a quiet joy that never fades. Until our next meeting in stillness, take care.